So, I wanted to make another video right quick about Myron. Um, so someone had posted on the video that our relationship wasn't going to work out because he's my ex, but I just wanted to respond to that all of my exes have been good exes. Like every single ex except my husband. I don't have a single ex that I wouldn't date again, and none of my exes would not date me again. Like they would date me again. We've all ended on good terms. We all have remained friends. We broke up for different reasons, like distance. Like when my younger years, like my teen years, because I haven't dated a lot in my adult life. So all of my younger relationships, like moving to different schools and not having the opportunity to see each other, or like my first really serious boyfriend, we moved 4 hours apart from each other, and like he moved to the beach and I moved to the countryside with my dad. And it was like our parents weren't going to drive us 4 hours just to come visit each other. And it was just the logical thing to do was just to break up. But like we're still friends to this day. And if it weren't for the fact that he was married with kids, I would have asked him out instead of any of these other guys that I've been chasing around because I absolutely love him and adore him. But with Myron, like I said, the only problem I had at the time was the whole whining about the cigarette thing. But in hindsight, like I said, in the last 3 years, I have matured a whole lot more. And I don't find it aggravating to my senses. He hasn't done it again, but even if he were to do it again, I know, just knowing me and myself, I wouldn't be annoyed by it. So it's not like that's going to be a problem in our relationship because I'm the one who's not the same as I was when we were first dating. So that one issue's off the table now. And the only other thing I was concerned about was his mental health, but he's taken that a lot more seriously since he got bumped backwards in his progress. So, and I had a serious conversation with him tonight about my needs when it came to his mental health, and we will test the waters and see how he handles the responsibility I put upon him, where I told him that I could not handle someone else's mental health issues if they were off of their medicine entirely. Like I couldn't handle all that weight on my own. Like I am fully intending not to give up on him if he, for whatever reason, goes into crisis. Because it's no different than me being schizoaffective. It's like if he broke up with me just because I became schizoaffective again, that wouldn't be a very supportive partner. So I'm not planning to break up with him. And like I said, again, in these last 3 years, I have matured quite a lot more than when I was just 31. I'm 34 now, closer to 35 than 34 now. So I've had time to really stop and reflect and think about him as a person. Like, he's just so gentle. He is so gentle. And he's so loving. Like, and he has been since the day I first met him until now. Like he's genuinely probably the best man I've ever dated in my life. And I know first impressions stick around longer. So I should not have probably bashed him as hard as I did over the one thing, which was just him whining about cigarettes. But that was when I was 31 and we were dating, and I was a little bit stressed out, and it wasn't so much even the fact that he was whining about the cigarettes. It was a combination of things. It was his heaviness because like he was off his medication. I didn't know he was off his meds. If I had known he was off his meds, I would have been a lot more patient with him. Even then at just 31 years old, because I was dealing with a lot of mentally ill people in the group home. A lot of people were in the process of getting their medication ironed out. A lot of people were having setbacks and flare-ups and having to go back to the hospital to get their medicine ironed out before they could come back to live at the group home. And there was a lot of people in transitional states and just a lot going on. A lot of people would be like fully out of their head and just talking to themselves and angry and throwing water on the staff and snapping at me. And so I was under a lot of stress being at the group home because, for one thing, being an introvert, living in a house with 16 people, I was dealing with sensory overwhelm. and I am mildly autistic. So my biggest autism issues that I have are sensory issues, um, especially loud noises and being in. It's not crowds that I have a problem with, because like concerts and stuff like that, the crowds don't bother me. It's not like some crowds bother me. Like I don't really like going to Walmart, but like Food Lion is not as big as Walmart, so it doesn't freak me out as bad. But like I don't like Walmart. I don't like Walmart. But then I would like going to the beach, even in the dead middle of summer when it's crowded as hell. I would love it. So it's just situational. It just depends on whether the environment is soothing to me or whether it's jarring to me. Like too many people, too many babies crying, too many lights, too many smells, too many, like a store with all that sensory input, like in a Walmart. It's just too much going on. So I usually have to listen to my music, my headphones, when I'm in a Walmart, if I have to go to Walmart to grocery shop or something like that. So it can be kind of stressful for me. But living in the group home, the situation is kind of like this. I was in a group home with 16 people. There were some people, some staff that was very hostile towards the patients and towards me and towards just everybody, even other staff. Like they were very disrespectful and they got fired eventually. But while they were there, it was very stressful. So I had to stress at that. I was dealing with fibromyalgia, severe fatigue from having to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to the groups. And after like 5 months of it, my system was starting to crash down. But I was under court order that I had to go to the group. So all that mental stress that I had to do this, or I might go to prison for 20 years, even just having that hanging over my head, that was just a layer of stress that was just inevitable, and that was massive. So I was just in a constant state of stress, which when you have fibromyalgia and you're constantly stressed, it can cause you to be rather afraid and fragile. So I wasn't really in position to be dating anyone, to just put it that way. So I was already kind of dealing with my own mental health issues at the time. But compounded with that, when I said in one of my old videos on the old channel that I hadn't had access to my music in that whole NGRI process, other than the FL Studio that I had on the laptop that I was occasionally playing around with on the channel at the time. So I didn't have a guitar, I didn't have a piano. And those were the two remaining instruments that I had from my teen years and my 20s. The only two instruments I was still playing at the time was piano and guitar. So I was confusing my need to write music for a relationship. And I'm not saying that I didn't want a relationship as well, but it all got kind of murky, where one thing that I probably was craving was music, and I replaced it with a relationship instead. So I kind of jumped into something that I was not necessarily mentally prepared for, is another thing that happened. But the thing with Myron that made it so difficult the first time around, with all that in place, all that stress I was under, all the sensory overload, and this is the worst part of it, the sensory overload, is that Myron, he has a speech impediment. So he speaks faster. He speaks very, very fast, and it's can be a sign of high intelligence. He is very intelligent. I already said that in the last video, like he just is. But he speaks very fast, which they say can be a sign of high intelligence. So he speaks very fast, but the speech impediment comes in where he speaks so fast that he speaks faster than he can process what he's trying to say. So he stumbles over his words when he's trying to speak, and what comes out sounds like a lot of nothing. Like you catch maybe 5 words out of every 15. So he's very hard to talk to, and he has to repeat what he says like 2-3 times. So it was straining my brain. Like it was really stressing me out because of the sensory overload. Like it was really freaking me out. But that was at the time, like I said. So, and you know, we've been talking for the last 4 years, and it's not the same experience in the last 3 years. This is at the time I was censored. My senses were overwhelmed and overloaded, and I was exhausted. I was physically sick from the fibromyalgia. I was stressed out with that prison sentence hanging over my head. The staff that were acting crazy, the patients that were acting crazy, the groups themselves were not stimulating to me. I felt like I was being taught my ABCs. I made videos about that on my old channel, and I just felt underwhelmed and overstimulated all at the same time. And it just was not a good time to have someone in my face every single day. We weren't even dating then, but he was following me around like a lovesick puppy, and every time I turned my head, there he was, and he was trying to talk to me, and it was jarring because I had to concentrate so hard to try to understand what he was saying that it was making my body tired. So he was draining my energy exceedingly fast and exceedingly quickly. So it was like messing with my senses really bad. So I started kind of trying to avoid him a little bit. And then I started kind of dreading when he came around. And it kind of made me feel a little bad because I really enjoyed his company. Like, I really liked him. And he maintained his gentlemanliness the whole way through. He was always very generous with his money. He was always very generous with his compliments, his time, his patience, his things, his time. Like, he always made time for me. He always, if I wanted coffee, he'd run and go get it for me. If I ran out of cigarettes, he would always offer me money to go get some more. He would surprise me with packs of cigarettes that he bought off his roommate for me. We weren't even dating yet. Like, he prioritized me highly. And so that's why I decided to date him despite everything, because I know a good man when I see it. And I thought at the time maybe I was mentally strong enough to handle his speech problem with everything else that was going on, because that speech problem was draining my energy. But his good energy was so high, it almost balanced it out. It did balance it out. But when we started dating, it was a combination of me losing my energy so bad that I felt physically sick when we would spend any length of time together, that I didn't understand how I was going to be able to function around him, physically function as his girlfriend with no energy, that I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to date him long term. But eventually that cleared up. And I noticed the more time I spent with him in an intimate setting, not like sex or anything, but like at his house that he was living at, that the energy fatigue disappeared. Like, the more I got to know him and talk to him and spend time with him, the less fatigued I felt. So it got to the point where the energy crisis went away entirely. But then it was like a crossover where he would playfully complain when I wanted to go smoke, because when I get comfortable, I chain smoke. So it would be like every 20, 25 to 30 minutes, I would get up to go smoke, and the time would fly because we would be enjoying our company so much. It was like we were barely spending any time together, to be fair. And I was always outside, and this was in the dead of winter, so it was either, and he didn't have any proper clothes because he was halfway off his medicine. So he had went through a psychosis episode where he threw away all of his clothes. And I didn't know this, so he didn't have a winter coat. So basically it was like he couldn't join me outside when I wanted to smoke. So he had to stay in his room or stay in the house every time I wanted to go smoke. So he's like, so basically you're spending more time outside than you are in here with me. And it's the majority of the time you're outside, so that we barely get to spend any time with each other, all because you want to smoke. And he wasn't saying it in a serious way. He would lightly jest, oh, you need to go smoke again, I'm going to miss you. And it was playful, and it was still sweet what he would say, but it was how frequently he said it. And it wasn't every single time I wanted to smoke, but it was so frequently that I was like listening to something on a broken record. I'm like, it's something you say once or twice, not that often. It's like you're asking me not to go smoke, and I found that irritating because he knows that I'm a heavy smoker sometimes, like I can be. So it was kind of like I felt like he was asking me to change something that is almost impossible to change sometimes. Like if I could just quit smoking that easily, I wouldn't be smoking. I've tried 4 times in the last 4 years to quit smoking. I get down from 20 cigarettes a day to six, and then slowly in the span of 2 days, I'm back up to 20. Like it's very hard to quit nicotine. If you don't know, 2 hits of nicotine is 1 dose of the drug. You got a whole cigarette to get through, and 2 hits is 1 dose of the drug. You got at least 10 to 15 hits off a cigarette. So you know it's massively addictive. They say it's the most addictive drug that we know as humans that is readily available to us, even with the illegal drugs that people do. It is the most addictive one that is also legal. So it is very hard for people to get off of it on average, like on high average for most people. Some people can do cold turkey, but most people can't. So, and I have nicotine patches. I can't do the gum. I like, I try, and I can only do it when I have proper discipline and motivation. But motivation only lasts for so long, and if you've not disciplined yourself to do something, discipline doesn't just come out of thin air. So you have to practice at it until you get the discipline to quit it. Like that's just how you have to keep trying and trying and trying until you get there. But if the motivation's gone, then the discipline's not going to fall into place. Plus, it's something you enjoy, so it's going to be even harder to put that discipline in place. And you're addicted, so it's going to be even harder to get the motivation and the discipline. So it's very hard to quit. So I felt frustrated and backed in a corner when he would lightfully play at me about how often I was smoking, because he wasn't serious in any way. Like he's never once complained to me about I want you to quit smoking or you smoke too much or anything. Not once, never, not in a serious way. So it was all playful and lighthearted, but I guess it just made me feel some kind of way because I felt like it was either I had to compromise something that I knew was going to be very challenging for me, or I had to listen to him kind of playfully complain about it all the time, and I just didn't feel like dealing with it. And with the way he was talking, it was also overstimulating me, which was making me stress, which was making me smoke more, which was making him talk more. And all of it combined is why I said I feel like I gave up on him a little too easily, considering all of his good traits and all of his strengths. It was a minor annoyance, a very minor annoyance to give up an entirely good, decent man. You know how hard they are to find? Like, I have to be kind of crazy to just walk away from that just for him talking about my cigarette smoking. Like, that's how I feel about it. Ain't nobody gonna change my mind about it. But, like, that's just how I feel about it. And over the last 3 years, he's just proven himself to be even more of what I already knew he was. Like, I actually love him, and I can say that after 4 years of spending time with him and getting to know him and having him constantly check up on me and talking to me and calling me, and he still extends his finances to me. He extends his time to me. He checks up on me all the time. I mean, he's wonderful. Like, he takes great care of his kids. He's got 2 daughters. Like, I don't know. He's he's solid. And he's very romantic, which I really like. Like, I mean, if you get he's emotionally intelligent. Like, let me put it that way. So there's no confusion about how much he cares for me. Like, he tells me all the time. Even when we weren't dating, he tells me all the time. There's no confusion about if he wants to know how I'm feeling or what I think about him, or if our relationship is healthy. or if there's anything I want or need from him, or if there's anything he needs to do in our relationship, or if there's anything that needs to change in our relationship, or if I'm happy with him so far, or anything at all. He says what's on his mind. He he's forthright about what he's thinking and what he's feeling. He communicates beautifully. Like I like him. I like him. He reminds me of all the boyfriends I had. Like I said, when I was younger, not all. It was only a few. I've had a few, but he reminds me of all of them. Like like all the boyfriends you had when you were in school before you hit the world, and they lost their personality and their common sense all at the same time. Like just especially if you were like in honors classes and shit, the ones that were actually intelligent and actually gave a fuck about everything. Like that's what he's like. Smart and emotionally intelligent. Like he's very well rounded, and I don't agree with the person who said it's not gonna work out because he's my ex. Like there's a billion reasons why someone could be your ex. That's a weird thing to say. So I just wanted to address that. Um, there's only one ex I have that I'm not on good terms with, or wouldn't be on good terms with, and that's my husband. But he passed away, so all that's done and over with. But every other ex that I've had has been wonderful to me, and I've been wonderful to them. We just broke up for one reason or another, but it wasn't because there's animosity or we had reasons why we broke up. Like, that's not why we're exes. So, same thing for Myron. Minor annoyances are not weren't even grounds for breaking up with in the first place. They were just little things. One little thing. And the way he talks, like I said, it's not stressing me out now. I think he's more stressed out about it than I am because he feels so bad that people can't understand him when he talks. Like he told me that he has to repeat himself so much because his mom had the same problem with her speech. So he's like, I can't really help it, and I feel bad that I can't communicate cleanly or clearly or easily, and it makes me feel bad when I have to repeat myself so often. But what can you do about it? That's the way it is. So I feel for him in his situation, but at the same time, I think, like I said, he's more stressed out about that than I am at this point. Um, just it is what it is. I'm not under that stress that I was at the group home, and I've not been at the group home for coming up on 4 years. So all that stress is gone, and I'm not overwhelmed when I hear his voice. That combined with like the way he rubs my back and the way he like you see dudes who like drape their arm around their shoulders girlfriend and rub their arm and stuff like that. This is the way he's always draped around me, and I feel like I'm being held by a teddy bear. Like he's physically close is one of his love languages, is physical touch. So like, I feel coddled. Like he's sweet. So I'm willing to give it a fighting chance. Like someone I can genuinely see, because I've been married before, so I know the projection of it, right? And like I said, I've known him for 4 years. Like you don't gotta wait 10, 15 years before you can decide in your head whether someone's someone you would want to marry. And I would like to maybe work my way towards doing that. I would like to work my way towards doing that with him. But he's not going anywhere anytime soon, is what I can say, because he's been here for 4 years already. Um, Interested in dating me for 4 years. He's been in my corner for 4 years. We've known each other for 4 years. We've been talking for 4 years. We already dated one time around, and I'm a little bit wiser this time around. A little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding, and a little bit slower to break up with people just because. And a little bit slower on, a little bit better at mapping out my future. You know, I'm not as desperate to just have company with me. And I've never really done that so much, except with my husband, because I was only 16. So, like, of course, there's a lot of navigating through life you have to do at that age. Plus, he was really abusive, and I grew up with an abusive family. So, for one, I thought it was normal. And for two, I didn't know, had not yet learned how to walk away from it. So, all that is that. But, yeah. So, I just wanted to get up here, talk about that, share all that stuff. But anyway, love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.